everyone. My name is Chubby.
And I'm Vanessa, and welcome to No
No
Filters,
filters,
No
no
Fears
fears
podcast.
podcast. But yes, as you
I
heard,
think
we're
that
gonna
works.
be talking about Cuba, Libertad, which means liberty, freedom, basically. In so, man,
Um, I
what?
mean, originally we were going to talk about expectations. We'll still be talking about that next week. I really appreciate should be saying, "Hey, this is happening right now. We got to talk about it right now."
Like,
Um, Similarly to what happened, we postponed after the murder of George Floyd because we're like, you know, we needed time to sit with that, and we also couldn't come back with the episode about change without mentioning what was happening and the changes that were needed. So this is along those lines.
yesterday was 10 p.m. and I was sitting in the middle of my living room and I was like dealing with this and I'm like expectations, it feels so wrong. And I was sitting there and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't care about the expectations. I really don't. I don't want to talk about that right now. And I was like, you know what, let me go text Vanessa. We're changing this because even though we've heard about Cuba for 62 years and we may think we know what's been going on and it's been a thing we grew up with, because I grew up with it even though I'm not Cuban. I grew up with all the stories that how Cuban is a communist, blah, 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 but essentially we don't know anything at all. We don't know absolutely anything, especially since there was no a Wi-Fi internet connection for them to communicate back then. And now that there is,
There was no social media.
no social media at all. And now that there is, it's time. It's time. So here we are sitting with this, and I'm Puerto Rican. Vanessa is Cuban, so she does have more to say than I do. I just know what I've read, what I've seen from people, from family, friends, whatever. But and I mean family as in like extended, But I don't know anything. So yeah. Sharon says, I agree. I hate to admit, but I don't know much about what has been going on with Cuba. And guess what? It is okay not to know, and you shouldn't feel guilty about it. And this is why we're here. And I understand that you're not gonna go out and be like, oh my God, what is happening in Cuba? And search it up. But it's okay. I mean, not everybody knows everything about anything that's happening in the world. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I for you were mentioning that there was this other countries have had the benefit as of late of social media, right? Even though maybe not much was accomplished for what they needed or what they wanted. For example, Venezuela.
oh
There's
yeah.
still shit going on in Venezuela, but the word got out. The world saw,
I remember 7 years ago
right?
or about 8.
So um the same thing applies to this. Stories never really left the island. Why do most Cuban Americans and Cubans on the island, right, or Cubans that are part of the exilio that were exiled? Why do they know their history? Because they don't let it die. Because it was the only. Oh my God, I'm already gonna start crying.
It's
Because it was
okay.
the only way for anybody to really know the truth. Because everybody had a hand in maintaining the facade that the regime created. Hollywood had a hand, which is really unfortunate because there was so much there was so much investment on the island prior to the regime taking over, right? From the United States and from other countries. So we are where we are now. And what matters is that now we have the ability to get these stories off of the island. And it's difficult because we hear the things. We hear about the people that came in rafts and speedboats. You hear about, oh, the people are going hungry. But then on the opposite side, you hear the tourist experience. I went and it's so beautiful, and the beaches and the old architecture and the old cars. that is all still there because no one has enough personal wealth to maintain or to upgrade anything. So it gets a pretty picture created for the tourists. But the reality of it is every single tourist dollar goes to feed the belly of the dictator, goes to the pockets of those that are causing the killing and imprisoning those who speak out against it, while the entire island starves. And I am so proud that the island finally woke up and said enough is enough. They had not had the strength to do so. One doesn't question or criticize an abused housewife, right? Why didn't you leave? You wonder why, but you don't question her about it because we understand that it is difficult. Now, put an entire military, put an entire quote unquote government, it's not a fucking government, putting their foot down on you, and you could lose your job, you could lose your family, and the only freedom per se is to be living at home versus being in a jail cell.
Right.
So it was not something you would speak out against. And I was saying when it happened, I hadn't seen that many like people come out since I was a kid. That we would see a lot more demonstration. But as laws cracked down, things cracked down, it just wasn't. I think it's fair to say that almost every Cuban American can tell a story of my cousin, my aunt, my brother, who was a political prisoner in Cuba. Just about everyone. And I'm very proud that I went to the street, and I'm very proud to see the outpour from across the world. Protests in Germany, in Italy, in France, protests here in the States, not just in Florida, all across Florida, but in Texas, in Los Angeles, in New York, Missouri, random ass Missouri. But it is a testament to the following: a diaspora. This is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And I'm not just crying because, oh, I'm Cuban and this, because, and Chubi, you know this. The diaspora is not just the Cuban. It is every African that was torn from their homeland and spread across the whole fucking world. So new. And if we know the parallels that there are in every single one of these heinous crimes against humans, then we miss the point altogether, I feel.
Like I was telling you earlier, how I get it that it's been going on for so many years, 62 years to be exact, and how people they think they shouldn't talk about it because we know about it. That is crap. That is honestly, we don't know anything. So and now that, and remember guys, speaking against the government over there, like Vanessa said, does get you jail time, getting beaten or killed. Okay, you disappear. So but what I started seeing over here as we were trying to share information, most of my posts about Cuba got deleted, got banned, got whatever. The hashtag SOS Cuba on Instagram got banned or whatever. You couldn't see anything anymore. And the freedom that's being limited here while we're trying to, amplify the voices of the Cubans, of the Venezuelans, of anybody. Why are you doing that? Why aren't you helping amplify their voices? Why are you canceling, banning accounts or anybody that's speaking about something that is obviously very important, and It's bullshit, basically.
It is. And here's the thing. For every couple of posts that get taken down, there's another 1,000, another million that they can't, right?
Right.
So even then, it's those acts of censorship. And this is where I say, we cannot be so arrogant. We cannot be so self-centered and self-righteous that we don't recognize that what's happening in these other countries, Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Colombia,
Colombia.
can happen in the United States.
Um,
People want it to happen in the United States.
And like I always say, when I say we have limited freedom, what I'm talking about is the freedom of speech, the freedom of press. We're getting censored little by little, but you're not seeing it. Now imagine living like that for your entire life, 24/7, and not being able to do anything about it.
Yeah.
That
So I what I've taken issue with most it is that idea that this is so far removed, right? Venezuela said that this could never happen there.
right.
And, you know, Fidel went, hey, Chavez, homie, let's talk. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you'll see so many Cuban Americans, so many Venezuelans, so many Nicaraguans saying, Cuba falls, all the rest fall. When the Berlin Wall fell, a bunch of other countries fell in line and found freedoms that they didn't have. So this is a necessary awakening, a necessary thing to happen in the world because it sets other things in motion. Now, to get the nitty gritty of it, it is not not about an embargo, the embargo. It is not. The Cuban people right now, and I use the term live lightly because they're barely scraping by, from people here in the United States, their family members, sending them money. Okay? Imagine for the people that don't have any family in the States, how difficult it is, or anywhere outside of the country. This does not stop the regime from accepting medicine or assistance from any one of their other buddies, Russia, Spain, Mexico, and every other country that seems to be licking its butt right now. Okay? It doesn't have to. What it stops is its people from creating personal wealth, from being able to manage and maintain their own properties, from
Right.
being able to feed their family. There are supermarkets. Ain't no food there. It is illegal to eat meat because there shouldn't be any. The only people that have access to that kind of food is the Cuban regime, the dictatorship. So it's, and of course, we don't see that because we see the five-star hotels and the money being put into those things. So we assume that in helping, what we're helping is the economy. The Cuban people don't earn enough to survive, and they don't earn in American dollars. Okay? The money that they make is like monopoly money. Dinero de papelito, right? Which then they have to change to Cuban dollars, which is almost impossible because in order to purchase anything, the stores, the food, what is it sold in? American dollars.
Yeah, Sharon, they actually do dictate. There's a little booklet that I've read and that you want to take over since, I only read about it, that they
Yeah.
only give you this many for an entire month. It doesn't matter how many people are in your household. So,
And you're also not guaranteed that it's going to be sanitary food. There will be bugs in it.
could be expired, yeah.
It could be expired. Um, you know, there
You
have
name
been there have been times where like people will go food shopping for the family, right? And you just can't, because it's still seen as unequal, right? And the lines are outside and people fighting to get in. What we experienced during the pandemic that everybody was bitching about, that is what Cuba lives every day of their life. And yet we still found something useful on the shelves, because Costco and Walmart and Target and everybody will make sure that you can get something. That is not a guarantee in Cuba. So when you see people posting and being very upset about politicizing what's happening on the island, is because what happens with politicizing the situation in Cuba is that you're making it seem as though they want to come here, as though something wants to be taken yet again from us or from any other country. You don't think these people want to stay on their island, in their home? My grandparents would have given anything. My grandparents died never being able to go back to where they were born. They don't they want to be able to travel freely, explore the world, yes, but they want to be able to build homes and lives and families where they were born, on their island with their people. And it's one thing at a time. Everybody bitches about the embargo. There's people for it, against it. I don't care what you are. Before anything happens, Cuba needs to be free. These people can't be there because they take everything. They devastate their people. They devastate the island. They devastate everything on it. It's like, I don't know who watches like comic books, but it's like a symbiote. They want to like take over everything and just engulf it. So
Um,
everything else happens after that in 2021. This is
well,
disgusting.
well, Sharon, it's been happening for years for them. So it's not even, it doesn't matter what year will be. If the island is not free, will happen for however long. So they're trying. My piece on this, when I heard what Cuba was doing, I was like, fucking finally. Those are the words that came out of my mouth. I was like, it was about fucking time that this fucking happened. It's about time. It needed to happen.
Yeah.
And I know it's rough and I know it's hard and it's scary. A lot of people are being missing, getting murdered. Everybody, the whole entire island's getting beat. Children are being murdered and sent off to, the military or whatever it's being called over there. But damn, it was about fucking time, and a lot of people share the same sentiment that they're proud of Cuba. I am proud of Cuba. I am very happy that al fin, that's
Yeah.
that's how I felt when I first heard about it, and yeah.
Um, I am glad, and it can be felt by people more than Cuban or non-Cuban. I'm going to bring this part up now
Yeah, do it.
because I think it's important and it's a good segue. There's somebody that is totally worth following. The information that she's shared has been great, but there is one particular thing that was shared recently that I have to disagree. Now, I've known this person. She don't know me, but I've known her because I used to work at this place called Oiko Maya, which no longer exists, sadly. And it used to
Yeah.
be, it was on 8th Street. And it was a home, a cultural, a musical oasis for people who had left Cuba to hear their music and to sit with their people y rumbear y pasarla rico. And her father is a well-known comedian here in Florida and from Cuba. Her name is America Valdez. Absolutely follow her. A lot of the things that she shares are incredible. And she's a very eloquent, very intelligent young woman. But she had made this one last video about telling non-Cubans to butt out and just sit and not comment. Yes and no. Yes and no, because there are, we would be lying to ourselves. And I speak, and maybe it's, I'm taking too much privilege here, but I speak for every movement that has happened. A lot of support and a lot of the uplifting done by people that are not of that thing, that are not Cuban, that are not Black, that are not part of the LGBTQ plus community. You need those voices just as much as you need the voice of the people that form that community, because they are a part of another community that has not been listening. And to have one of their quote unquote their own telling them, hey, don't be a stupid, right?
Mhm.
Incites something. It wakes something up. So it's not fair to invalidate non-Cuban voices. That being said, there's a lot of gaslighting and steamrolling going on about the information being shared, or it's not even real. Nobody knows what to believe. That is what the regime has conditioned the entire world, not just the island, to accept and to understand. Is this real? No, we would never do that, right? So, non Cuban voices that know, ask questions. They're allowed to ask questions. But to invalidate the experience on the island, that is what is not welcomed, right? Because we all remember loud and clear, whenever we're talking about situations related to Black Lives Matter, whenever we're talking about situations regarding human trafficking, or uh, or rape or victimization in any way, we say, shut up and listen, right? And this is along those same lines. Victimization, it's abuse of power. And sometimes even Cubans need to listen. The Cubans on the island are the ones still there taking the brunt of it. So everybody takes their turning, but everybody is allowed to put in their efforts if it's to progress, if it's to move forward. You know what I'm saying?
Since you're touching up on that, this is a segue to what we talked about. So, in the recent days, whoever that person, people were, came to Vanessa's DMs as if, I hope they did they know you? I
Yeah.
mean, know you as in
Well,
even what?
it wasn't just one person, by the way. So
Oh,
that's
I
why
didn't.
I had to say, like,
So several people came into her DMs talking about why do we talk about these type of subjects and we're not talking about Cuba. See, at first I wasn't taking it personal because it has nothing to do with me, but I'm still her friend, so I'm there, being okay, supportive. Then they mentioned no filters, no fears, and
that was a
I'm
wrap. They talked
okay.
about our baby.
Apparently, they haven't heard any of our episodes. We have 57 episodes talking about everything under the sun. So for them to say, would you like to say a little piece of what they said to
Well,
you?
every message was kind of different, but a lot of them were regarding, like, why,
The overall
por qué te
message.
metes? Why do I get so involved, or why do I get, what, 1 minute it's like pretty quotes, and all of a sudden something happened. I start posting matter. I start posting missing, murdered, and I start posting. The more you know. That's why, because it
Right.
matters to me. Even if I just learned about it, if I learned about it and I know it's significant, I'm gonna post about it. Um, a lot of them also didn't know that I was Cuban, so which alleviates a little bit of, like, the taking it personal, because I'm like, you don't know me clearly, like,
Right.
because anybody who knows me, I don't hide that I'm Cuban. They just assumed that I was only Dominican, and I'm very proud of my heritage on all sides. My Lebanese blood, my Spanish blood, my, well, that's it. My Cuban blood. I'm very proud of all of it. Um, but I was raised Cuban, and I lived in Dominican Republic, so I have a Dominican experience. I have a Cuban experience from my family living here and hearing the stories of what it was to come here, what their experience was there. So to get messages about like, why am I posting things that I don't know about? And you is not Cuban, is not even Caribbean, is not even Latino. So my question
Wait,
is, if I don't know about it, how much more do you know?
right.
Um,
Hold on, you're cutting up a little
but
bit. So, oh,
the
it
basic
was,
gist was they were just trying to cut me down for caring,
sorry, there was a
or
little
is
delay.
like, okay, sorry, or assuming that I care more about this than I did about anything else that I ever talk about, which to say,
And I mean, putting it lightly, but I felt that if you're gonna go into someone's DM, I hope it's for like a fact, like it's a factual thing, like you're correcting them in something. Hey, by the way, instead of attacking who they are or how they behave or how they present, I think that's wrong. So I felt offended in some way. I felt attacked for you because I'm like, that is so unnecessary. And if you don't know the person, it's even worse. Like, why are you going up at all? You don't know anything. Why are you posting? Anyway, so that where that came from. So I did my own post about it because obviously, you want to say something. But if you know this person and you're following them, you've seen that they've done so many episodes about all types of topics. So that was just so weird. And I
there was
almost
the one
time.
person did specifically mention the missing Indigenous women episode.
Yeah.
But did you watch it?
Right. Like, did you like?
Because
Why are
they're like,
you?
oh, why would you do it about that? I was like, I learned about it more through conversations with Chubi, who has been following that movement for a while, who has been active for that. So, and of course, once I knew more about it, once we spoke to Jody, right, it became even more obvious to me how much more I needed to learn, how much more I needed to listen. And so I tried expressing and sharing this. Yeah, but then that means you were just doing it because it was a trend. A trend for who? I don't see none of y'all posting about murdered and missing Indigenous
Right.
women,
This is. Yeah.
which is why
So.
I posted on my page about today this other young woman that spoke excellently about, because celebrities aren't posting about this or making it okay to share, a lot of people have chosen to stay quiet. You don't need a fucking celebrity. You don't need it to be a trend. Wrong is wrong.
Right. And if that's something that you don't want to post on your page, fine. No one's asking you to.
But don't hate
But
on somebody
I'm
else.
just But don't attack other people for talking about what they talk about or their truth, because obviously she was like Vanessa was talking about it for a reason. But I just feel like that was just wrong, especially when she is already going through something, when her country is, going through shit, and she's like in an emotional mess. You're gonna go attack a person already when they're going, I don't know. Didn't sit well with me, and you know how I am with that. I'm like, internet bullies, that's what I call them. Like, no. But
Kakatuan.
I digress. We we could continue
Yeah.
because I just needed that.
Um, I mean, I was saying before, because there's so much terror between people thinking that it is about this embargo, that it is a political move. Everything else will follow. The food, the medicine, everything will follow. What the people are saying is that they are done with the rule that exists on the island. They are done with the Castro regime. Fidel Castro might be dead, but the regime lives on. This is what I don't think people are understanding. And there's so much misinformation
Right.
about the timeline of things, that Fidel, like glorifying Fidel Castro, glorifying Che Guevara. That to me is like he was a murderer.
Right.
And all of these things were with the idea to push the socialist ideals, the communist ideal. So it's unfortunate to see that people will just take things at face value and not go deeper. What do you always say, Chubi?
Wait, which one? Because I'm like, reading is essential. I say that.
Reading is
Yeah.
you take something because I heard people say Fulani could have been pulling crap out of his ass. Most people do. Figure it out for yourself. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody digging deeper. They're taking things at face value and making it about what it's not. People are literally dying as they scream and being like shot at, sliced down for screaming freedom. Yes, you'll hear them saying we're starving and we did, but it's part of that upheaval of that. But that's not what they're asking for. They're just saying free us. We'll take care of the damn rest. Okay, and it's and people try to make it a race matter. That you can do because the population of Black Cubans, the 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 abuse, the imprisonment, the numbers are so much higher for the Black Cubans. It is. So you can make it a race thing. But to make it a political thing is unfair and is ignorant. To make it about an embargo that doesn't really stop them from getting money. What stops the money is that's in place that doesn't get the money to the people.
I don't think people understand that.
I'm gonna pull out these names right now. Her name is Mima in Miami. She did a great video explaining sort of the economics of how things work in Cuba monetarily. She did a really good job about that. Victoria Collado, I had mentioned before, and also Vanessa Garcia. Victoria Collado is a Cuban American director and activist that studied here in Miami. Once FIU graduated, she got her master's in New York, and she's been a working director theatrically. She was a director of the Amparo Experience here in Miami, written by Vanessa Garcia, which is a Cuban American writer who has been writing and researching about Cuba for over 20 years. Both of their families have people that were political prisoners. And all they've done way before this happened was to try and uplift that story and the voices of the Cuban people from the island. So they've done a series of like 3 or 4 episodes of Why Cuba Matters. And it's on their website and on their Instagram, Abre Camino. I want to say Abre Camino Collective. Am I wrong? Abre
Is the ones you sent me earlier to watch?
Abre Camino Collective. And they've done a couple of series of that where they talk and they work closely with Cuba Decides, which is an organization led by Rosa Paya. Am I saying that right? Is it Rosa? Whose father was also a big activist and advocate on the island. A lot of those people are now dead by accident, from starving to death in prison, you know? And I recognize that these conversations are difficult to have, like on the show, but it is the fact, and I wish that there was like more people in here watching, like, oh, there's another thing on Cuba. Let me see if I learned something new. And the reality is that people will saturate their feeds with music videos and cute graphics before they saturate their feeds with things that could potentially save another human life.
Sharon says, it takes a village to uplift each other and protect each other and to help each other. It does. And that goes along with saying that I don't have to be Cuban to understand, that it's fucked up what's happening, that is messed up, that a whole country gets governed by the regime, like somebody else is controlling the whole entire country. You have no say in your life. You have no say in how you could live it, and that's why you support, because if you understand this, then you don't have to be Cuban to understand. You could just understand.
And the thing is, it's like, I think I said this to you the other day, Chubi. I don't know how people can look at videos, because the videos aren't there just to make people feel bad. The Cuban people are risking their lives to film these things. They get taken from their homes. I don't know how people can see older old women, old men, getting shot at or beaten down to the floor, their heads exploding on the pavement. I don't know how people can see newborn babies shot in their mother's arms and not be like, this is something I should probably care about. Um, we care about such crazy shit, but that we can see that and turn it off because it's too much and too triggering. What a privilege to be able to do that. There are over 500 missing people, some of which are incarcerated, some of which have just disappeared. We can imagine what that means. It is not about politics. I repeat, it is not about an embargo. The United States did not screw over Cuba for it to get to this point. The regime screwed over its people. It's not solely the United States' job to fix it for the Cuban people. It is an international thing. This is why nobody really from the island or that is standing up for this is saying, you will see the people asking for military intervention. I am not that person. You're going to get more people killed with that shit. And you don't have to make it to the island with your military intervention. They will shoot them down there dead before you even get there. They're already walking into people's homes, bang, bang, boom, shooting even the house pet.
I was just about to say that.
You know
Remember,
what I'm saying?
guys, you have to know that they have the right to go into your home because they own that. That's their house. That you don't own anything there, so they go into your home and they could do whatever they want. Do you remember that periodista? How do you say that in English? I forgot the English word. The journalist. She was on television saying the news, and they literally told her she needs to get out, and they took her live while this was going on, and then she had to log off, and they took her to jail. Is she alive? Have you heard from her?
Yeah, they released her and she's fine. And of course, they didn't mistreat her. They're not all together stupid. They didn't treat her badly because they had all the intention of releasing her. Say, I wasn't treated badly. I wasn't abused. Because now that's what people hear. But on camera yesterday, a rapper from Bayamo was doing his last, had the phone set up live and saying, don't stop, don't get off of the streets, do not let all of this be in vain, because the Cuban people are desperate, because they know that we're receiving conflicting messages, old videos to discredit what's happening on the island right now, that there are, don't get it twisted, there are legitimate communists on the island that are with the regime. Do not confuse that for being the entire island. The majority want to be free, want this to end. And so they have people out there, plants that are eating perfectly well, right? They do this to feed their family. It's survival of the fittest. fittest. I can't speak today. But so he was there and he's saying, don't let this be in vain. And as he's saying, because they're coming in for me, they open the door, they grab him and they take him.
Yeah, I saw that one too. I was like, yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the actos de repudio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so acts of rep. Trying to think of how you say it. Hold on, we're gonna Google because Vanessa doesn't know how to say it in English. Acts of repudiation. So I kept hearing about it. Vanessa did a video explaining really well what it is, and then I asked my mom about what it was, and she explained to me that our aunt, so her aunt, my grandmother's sister, this happened to her. And this was back in the day, but this happens still to this day. Either from, if you live above, from the ground, they're like screaming at you, but they will bust into your house and throw things at you or beat you as they're telling you what a piece of garbage you are and how dare you and that you're against the regime, like horrible things. So think, I don't know who saw Game of Thrones when they make the queen walk naked through the entire city as they scream shame for shame at her as they're flinging shit, literal feces and food and rotting food at her. That is real and that happens in Cuba. It wasn't just some like horrible thing in a show. It's real. And these are things that people don't know about. And then they wonder why people get so uppity and so righteous and so pissed. And it's because of this. Because either they
And,
lived it or their family is living it.
and this is just the surface, guys. There's more to this, but obviously, I mean, 62 years of all this, there's more to this, but it's just, and there's no documentation from this because the moment you document something, again, you're being stopped. So from and I'm saying this from what I've read and what I've heard other people say, that there is no documentation. So it's not like you could go and be like, and in the year of 19 whatever, let me go look for this piece of paper and look for this evidence. There's none.
History
Because
stops in 1959. History stops.
basically basically
And
because they
whatever
control
else has been
everything.
written has been like interactions with the US or whatever, right? We know Bay of Pigs, we know things like that that have happened since. The history of El Mariel, right? In
Mm.
94, when the Mariel boat lift happened, we have an idea. People think they know. And the thing that people remember is, oh, that's when a bunch of murderers and people were released from the insane asylum and told, and the regime did that on purpose. Their solution for having too many dissidents on the island was, all right, you want to leave? We're opening the island. Leave. And so when he did that, he said, let go of the prisoners, like the real ones, like the assassins or whatever. Let go of the people in the asylums. Put them on the boats too, with family, with family, with kids, and like people that were just really trying to come here to start a new
Right.
life. There's this idea, and I'm not saying that there are Cubans that do this, because there are, that play the system and do the thing. There totally are. Sad but true. But there is this notion that Cubans just came here to fan their ass and everything handed to them on a platter. Negative. That is not the story of my family, and that is not the story of so many families. Just like many immigrants that come to this country hoping for a better future, they came and they worked their asses off. There were signs in Miami Beach that said, no shirts, no shoes, no Cubans, no blacks. Oh, and no dogs.
Mm.
Right? So this, it, other communities should feel this pain because it's a recognizable pain. It's a recognizable beyond, which is why so many people took such offense to what the Black Lives Matter organization released.
Oh yeah, that's another.
That hurt me. so deeply. I was so disappointed. As it is, the organization makes me wince because some of their ideals have deviated so strongly from what the move, like where it originated from. You know what I mean? But this was like the icing on the cake to show me that they don't give a shit except pushing certain political ideals. You make it about politics, you forget about the people.
Right.
Eso me mató.
Um, if we forgot to mention, it is a level 5, so
Oh yeah, it's a super level 5.
yeah.
And the thing is, like for me, I'm not one, like I'm not a fan of the people protesting on like 836 in the turnpike. That doesn't make sense to me. Unpopular opinion. I want my people out there screaming and lending a voice and uplifting the voice of the people of the island. But does it have to be the 836? Does it have to be the turnpike and fuck everything else in the city? No. Go to where it matters.
Right.
Mr. Red, this guy from Instagram, he said something very smart. Go to the news stations, go to the radio stations. Don't let them out of the fucking building until they report what they have to. Because right now, the media, the only things that they are talking about, they're lifting it directly from social media and pasting it on CNN and Fox and every other crappy news outlet because they don't know. And what do?
Right.
They edit what you actually posted and they make it about the embargo and they make it about politics and they make it about everything but what it is.
Instead of listening to the people that are actually filming this with their own cameras, why don't you post that instead? Like,
But
I
we
don't.
but I feel like we pull away from maybe there being a shift and being like, okay, let's make it about what it's when we stand on the 836 and block traffic.
Oh, right.
You know what I'm
Not a.
saying? I understand the sentiment, but there was a perfectly amazing uh manifestation done in front of the Liberty Tower
Mm,
over the weekend. Okay, this is where a lot of people, this is where my mother, when she came to the States, this is where she was registered. This is where she came in. Okay, so that was significant. Ain't nobody block obstructing traffic or doing none of that. You don't have to stop your city from functioning to
right.
uplift those voices. To me, that doesn't necessarily make sense, and I feel it pulls away.
No, there's smarter ways to do it, and I understand. I mean, but right now they're doing what they think is best.
Yeah,
To
and
those,
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say to those watching. I mean, I know. I mean, was it new to you, Sharon? I mean, I know you must be saying what the hell, but it is a sad reality, you know.
It is. If anybody has a question, a
Yeah.
feeling, you're allowed to have feelings and say this is bullshit, right?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm all for it. Say it, share it.
do it all.
There's
Um,
nothing, people are afraid to talk now because so many things has happened and so many everything is like cancel this and cancel that. That now people don't want to talk,
right.
and it's
That.
shitty.
I mean, and that's the same way. Jason says 100% bullshit. Um, just like when Cuban people, I heard other Cuban people say that when they first came here, they were afraid to talk because over there you were not allowed to talk, and that there was this story that they were being told in Cuba que los americanos that you would get beat up and you know in the streets. Were you
We're
saying that to
terrorists.
me? Yeah. So I was like, you know, I understand. I understand why people don't want to talk, you know. But earlier, when you know you were being attacked, you know, in your DMs, even more. Even more. I'm talking more. I'm even more. I'm gonna point it out, and I know that's a privilege that I do have to say that because obviously, you know, we don't live over there, and we, you know, but still, and I know it's scary to stand up and say it, but
I mean,
here we
back
are.
in the 1800s, or it was even later than that. Los Mambises. which is what they're calling the people on the island right now. The Mambisas comes from, funny enough, my other island, a Dominican man. His last name was Mambi, fighting the Spaniards, right, for the independence of Dominican Republic. And then so many of his soldiers came to Cuba to then fight the Spaniards, right? So the Mambises did not have weapons. They didn't have guns. They didn't have anything. They had machetes. And they won. Okay? They won. They kicked everybody's ass and they won. And still, Cuba has never really known true freedom. They've ever once been able to vote for a president, and their president elect, I don't think ever even got to do the job. And it was in my birthday, October 10th, right? En el año 1900 no sé qué. Okay? So it has never really had the opportunities, right? And before there was a Las Vegas here, Cuba was it. Cuba was paradise for Americans. We're 90 miles away. Okay? You hop on a boat, you get there, you have your big, beautiful mansion and the casinos and the resorts, and then you come back. How lovely. It was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful time. And when it all came crashing down, little by little, the Cuban people lost hope and learned survival. And little by little, people around the world started becoming more disconnected from the island and its realities. Um, there's people, I was saying before, that they were calling for military intervention, and I understand the desire, but the fact is that's part of what Truby was talking about before. That is part of the narrative that has been fed to the Cuban people. We're terrorists. They have been saying that we're going to storm their shores. So if we do that, we're not going to be seen as saviors. We're going to be seen as, damn, the regime was right. The Americans are garbage and they're here to
Make it everywhere.
be dictators. It's not go over there and save the day and take over. It's help them help themselves. That's what they're asking for. Help us get these fuckers out. Right? Help us get the word out. They're not even asking for anything. In reality, they're not even asking for las recargas, for people to recharge like the phones. But that is the only way to maintain internet access at all, so that they can have access to VPNs and get free internet, because the internet has been blocked on the island. The electricity has been cut.
On purpose, obviously.
On purpose. So night falls and it is pitch darkness and there's still people on the streets, and more of them dying and more of them disappearing.
Before it gets to be 10 p.m., do you want to read the Cody quotes?
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to do the Cody quotes. First, I'm going to read this. We will share, I'll do a post-lit for you to share, Chubi, of the accounts that I feel are worth like really following, and that they will lead you to other accounts that have viable, real information, not caca. These people double check their facts. They are also translating videos from Spanish to English so that people can understand what's happening in these videos being sent directly from Cuba to them. A lot of us still have family on the island. This is not just because we have family there. When you look at these videos, if you cannot see a brother, a sister, an aunt, an uncle in these videos, then you really need to double check with yourself and your pulse on humanity. The Angry Therapist is somebody that I follow on Instagram, and he's wonderful, and today because it's very similar to what the Cuban people are going through. When a lobster is attaining a new shell, it is one of the most challenging, stressful times in its life. It sits helpless on the ocean floor, completely vulnerable to being eaten, hurt, as it has no shell. It can take weeks. When you see lobsters in captivity and their shells are gray, this is what is happening to them. It is a horrible experience for them. However, if they do not leave their old shell, they will die. Because I'm a mess. And this is the most important one. Amamos a la libertad. We love freedom. Porque en ella vemos la verdad. Because in her we see the truth. Moriremos por la libertad verdadera. We will die for real, for true freedom. No por la libertad que sirve de pretexto para mantener a unos hombres en el goce excesivo. Not for the freedom that only serves as a pretext to keep some men enjoying in excess y a otros en el dolor innecesario and others in unnecessary pain. Jose Marti. I appreciate so much that you were open to this and that I know that it's meaningful to you even though you're not Cuban. You're a human and I've seen you feel so deeply for so many things. This is what the side of these conversations that people don't see is when Chubby calls me the moment, the day after George Floyd was murdered in tears. Okay, and we talk about this and we feel the hurt because no, I may not be black on my skin, but we're both mixed. But even if we weren't, nobody has to witness another human being being murdered unnecessarily and stay quiet. This is why we talk about the things we talk about. But this in particular, of course, it hits home even harder because I am Cuban, because this is my history. And so it hurts when you see people so willing to stay quiet. If you don't know, I get it. You don't know. You don't have to use your platform, but at least listen and don't make uneducated, hurtful comments about something you don't know. That is all.
Just holding space. It's important. I mean, yes, I am not Cuban, but I did hear growing up my entire life about Cuban history, about most of my friends, people I know, and you don't have to be Cuban. You don't have to be anything in order to empathize, to to feel, to be human, to understand that it's messed up.
Yeah.
And like Vanessa said, if you cannot empathize, you need to assess your life. You do need to go reevaluate how you are as a human, because we're doing the best we can with our platform. We're doing the best we can as activists, as people, as just empaths, just doing what we can by sharing what we know, what we can, without being censored,
Yeah.
because believe it or not, it's happening here.
Yeah.
We're just
I mean,
urging you guys to just educate yourselves. Reading is essential, believe it or not. Now that there's more information out there, try to read as much as possible. Even if you don't share with anybody else, at least you know.
yeah. Just the fact that some of you showed up here today and listened to us and shared. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Jason. I mean, we have. I know how easy, because I've done it. We've all done it. It is to bitch and moan about the many failings of the US. And man, it has quite a few. Um, but it's in moments like this, and maybe this is why people feel uncomfortable, because maybe they recognize in moments that they're like, maybe I can't say anything because, of all the shit I've said in the past. But this is the moments where you realize, damn, that's really not being able to, like, your breath is not your own. El peo que te tira no es tuyo. Like, it's not, like, nothing is yours. Um, and to think that this is Cuba to that degree, that these things were happening and happen in Venezuela, happen in Nicaragua, happen, and there's sprinklings and things of it happening in Colombia, and Colombia is fighting back hard so that it doesn't become this, a regime like Cuba.
I was 2 months
There's
fighting that.
Yeah, there's ripple effects. So I don't claim to be the be all end all and know everything, but there are people out there, and I have the pleasure and privilege of knowing them, that do know what they're talking about, that have a bigger pulse on the situation, and that can explain it a lot more eloquently than I can. Like I said, I get very feely about it. I don't like to see people dying, to see people starving. People, they have no hope, no dream of anything more, because there is nothing else. And I do want to say this, and this is massively important because this makes me proud. Artists started this. The San Isidro movement was started first to push this new authoritative plug on, on music, on poetry, on the arts. And they said, no more, flick you. Okay? And artists started this, the no more. That song that you hear constantly, Patria y Vida. The Cuban regime's kind of token slogan was Patria o muerte, right? Your land, your land, your homeland, or death. And they're like, screw that. It can be your homeland and life. And it gave people this fire to get up and get out of their house and say no more. Because if they're going to die starving or being beaten or in prison, they might as well die starving, being in prison, fighting for freedom that maybe your child gets to enjoy. We don't know what that feels like anymore, because we've become equally as complacent in the shit that our government throws at us. Um, I'm okay to use this particular quote because I'm mad at Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I
I
don't
know
like
you
the
all
guy.
feel like you were right, because this is happening and he sure is quiet.
Te lo
He sure
dije,
is
but anyway.
quiet. But if you stand for nothing, what will you fall for? We said it 2 or 3 times on multiple episodes. They came for the Jews, I didn't speak up. They came for so and so, I didn't speak up. When they came for me, there was no one left to speak up. I get it. Maybe in another movement and another something, you didn't feel represented or backed up. Don't stoop to the level of those people who didn't have the cojones to stand up with you. Do it because you know that it's right.
What's that saying? Do it even you do something right even when no one's watching you, whatever
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And speak even though your voice may shake. All these like super cliche, corny quotes, they were born for a reason. Because the person was in the moment. They were having a moment, a really shitty one probably, but they were going through it and they saw the truth on the other side of it. If
I'm
we
gonna
stand up for this, vamos a cagarnos. Well, what Sharon say? Who Sharon
yeah.
went in?
She said it can be so exhausting to live through these troubling times, but there's There's this fire inside that burns to keep fighting. It's as if this is the same torch was passed on from past generations who refuse to give up, so I can't stop fighting.
We do this because of the humanity of it, but in reality, a part of me is absolutely doing this because if my grandparents were still alive, old as they may be, they would be at Versailles with a big ass Cuban flag. You know what I mean? They just would.
Guys, yes, we're gonna wrap it up because if not, we're just gonna be like Maria
Oh yeah, I
Magdalena,
can watch forever.
all night. But please educate yourselves. Read. I know I say this in every episode, but it's true. Reading is essential. If you don't know something, ask somebody that knows about it. Just if you are curious enough to want to, and it is okay to hold space for your own sanity as well. Me and Vanessa did this weekend. I almost had a panic attack watching these people just die, and you're just there feeling hopeless. I mean, helpless, both. And it is okay to take space for yourself too, and recharge, and do it all over again. But sometimes you also have to do it for your sanity. But like Sharon says, we can't stop fighting, and we're not gonna stop today, and we're not gonna stop next episode, or the next, or the next.
Legit.
And
You
like
got
we always
questions,
say,
right into my DMs with good questions, not
yes,
attacking me.
and don't put no filters, no fears in the same sentence, okay?
Yeah, we
But
get
no,
sensitive about our baby. Cut
because we
somebody.
no, but we are, because we talk about everything. How dare they? It's like you are misinformed human.
That's why I couldn't take it too personal. I was like, this
Right.
person clearly does not watch the show. Okay.
Like our name is no filters, no fears, man.
Yeah.
Like we always say, stay fearless, and like Cuba is doing, do it. And there, what? How many days now? 8 days in a row.
8 days. 8 days.
9, 8.
8 days. And they don't have the luxury of taking a break. So you'll see a lot of
Exactly.
Cuban Americans with a lot of bags under our eyes. And a lot of people, it doesn't have, not even, just anybody who's like doing this, bags under our eyes. We're tired, but we're here.
So yeah.
Thank you for holding
Yes.
space, all of you. Chubi, stay fearless, stay educated.